Hello and welcome to Keep Right On, Birmingham Live's Birmingham City podcast. I'm Brian Dick and I'm joined today by one of the most familiar faces in the Blues constellation. And even if that blonde mop of floppy hair has gone, memories of one of the most famous goals in the club's history certainly haven't. Of course, you'll all recognise the legendary figure that is Paul Tate, best renowned for scoring the golden goal that won the 1995 Auto Windscreens Trophy at Wembley, but best loved for 10 years service to a cause he feels as keenly as anyone. That goal in the Wembley final against Carlisle was one of 18 he scored for Blues in 212 appearances for the club between 1988 and 1999. Paul, welcome to Keep Right On for what is unashamedly a nostalgic trip down Wembley way. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. It's good to be speaking to you. And yes, it's quite weird, isn't it, that I'm here speaking to you after, was it 30 years since our last visit in this competition. It's really odd that we're going for the title and the cup again. It's just weird, but you know, it's where we are at the minute.
Yeah, against the Peterborough side, you know, whose director of football is Barry Fry. The parallels are brilliant, aren't they?
It's crazy. I mean, I'm so happy that Peterborough got there instead of Wrexham. No disrespect to Wrexham, but with Barry, and I know Barry loves our club and our fans, our fan base. You know, he absolutely idolises the club. It's what a fitting tribute for him, to probably finish his career. You know, he's getting on in his years now, isn't he, Baz? So, you know, it'll be a marvellous occasion for our fans going to Wembley, and also for Barry as well, personally.
Yeah. I think he's celebrates his 80th birthday in the run up to the game. So
is that old? Is that 80? Wow.
I think so. So whilst we don't want to wish him an unhappy birthday, we'd obviously prefer if he doesn't have too good a day at Wembley.
Absolutely.
Tatey, let's look back at your double season. Obviously, it was 1994-95. Barry Fry was the manager.
Yeah.
Seemed like 600 players were used. This season has been very much a case of Chris Davis at the start of the season has said we're targeting promotion and, you know, winning at Wembley. The double was sort of explicitly targeted straight from the off. Was that the case in 95 or 94-95?
Yes, 100%. It's very similar circumstances, as you know, like when David Sullivan and the Golds took over the club. We got relegated on the last day at Tranmere. Barry was carried from the pitch, which was bizarre, wasn't it? You get relegated and the manager's carried from the pitch. But the remit was to get promoted next season, or else, you know, and to win the cup. Barry liked winning things, but the main thing was to get promoted, and it was the pressure was on. It was massive because although we had a lot of players. You know, we were the big club in the division. Fans like coming to St Andrews to see us play. The away support, you know, the atmosphere. Yeah, and the pressure was on. And for the first, I think, 5 or 6 games, we didn't hit the ground running. We found it quite difficult. Didn't find our feet. But then when we did, you know, we were pretty much formidable.
Yeah, there was 2 losses, 2 draws, a couple of wins in the first sort of month or so of the season, and then you went on this very, very long unbeaten run, didn't you? Which put you towards the top of the league. Obviously, a lot of people say about this season's squad is that, well, you know, they should be top of the league with the resources available to them. Yeah. Was it kind of like that as well? Did Blues have the biggest budget and the most players and the best players back in that season?
Oh, well, we had the most players, didn't we? We had
had all the players. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was hard to get in the starting 11. Never mind. Yeah. You know, we had 2 reserve teams, one operating in the Northern League, one operating in the Southern Central League combination, and it was hard. It was hard just to get a starting place in the 11 because we had that many good players. Barry, you know, with his wheeling and dealing tactics brought into the club. It was very, very difficult, but the remit was to get promoted. And when you look around the dressing room and you see the kind of characters that were brought into the club, like the likes of Liam Dacier as your captain, you knew that you had a very good chance if everyone was at it to get promoted. Although, there's only one went up that season automatic as well, so that made it more difficult. Not like today when you get the two and then in your playoffs, it was one and then playoffs. So, it was the pressure was on. Everyone felt the pressure, but the characters that we had in the dressing room, the misfits, as we used to call ourselves, we were a good group. We got on with each other to a point, and we know what was needed to get up that season.
Yeah, there were some real strong characters in that. I'm just in that dressing room. I'm just flicking through the squad now. Guys like Steve Claridge. You've mentioned Liam Daish there, Ian Bennett, and then you've got Mark Ward, of course, and then you've got the likes of
Big Kev, Dave Barnett. These are all lads who like mixing it as well as playing. That they could mix it as well. So when you've got that in your squad, back in them days, you're allowed to kick and get stuck in. It was very physical, not like today, where the players literally there's literally hardly any contact. That's not to rise. There is contact, but not like it used to be. Used to get a lot more back when I played, and that was something that you just had to get on with and look after yourself.
What was training like, Tatey, with that competition for places? A real intense competition, and also the fact that there were so many of you, and you were all, as you said, you were all bang up for a fight, weren't you?
Yeah, we were. Training was crazy because we didn't have a training ground, so we would literally find out from week to week where we were going to be training the following week. So we would be use a place like the Sedgmere Sports and Social in Yardley. Sheldon, we would be at the King's Heath place, the West Midlands Travel. We was literally even Simon Digby School in Smiths Wood. We ended up training there one day. Fox Holly's Leisure Centre, the pitch is there. We had nowhere to train, so we didn't really complain. We just got on with it. It was really difficult, especially when you've got 49 players all vying for a starting shirt. On the weekend, it was crazy times. But I think the lads that, as I said before, the characters that we had in the dressing room didn't moan. They just got on with the job, just rolled our sleeves up and went, right then, let's have it, really.
You played 33 games in that season, which, as we've just said, ended in a League and Cup double. There's quite a few off the bench. Were you happy with your role that season? Were you just focused on getting in the side, or where were you at?
Well, I knew it was going to be difficult because Baz, obviously Mark Ward was the mainstay midfielder. He was fantastic. He's the best player I played with at Birmingham. He was something else. But then you had Peter Shearer, who was doing brilliant. Yeah. So I couldn't really argue to say 1 and 2 because those two as a two were very, very good. Obviously, you don't you want to play, but if you're coming off on the bench, as long as you're getting minutes, I knew Baz liked me, although he did try to out me to different clubs a few times just to because he thought I was getting in trouble too much in Birmingham. That he did try to out me, but I knew the relationship I had with Baz was a good relationship. It was good. So, although I wanted to play, I was glad to be part of the unit, and I knew I'd be utilised at some stage.
Yeah. Indeed. Tatey, I'm a journalist. You've dropped the trouble in Birmingham line. What sort of scrapes were you up to?
I haven't got my solicitor present, Brian, so I don't want to talk about any of my scrapes. I think it's well documented over the years that that I was getting involved in things off the pitch which I shouldn't have been. I was very mature. Didn't understand, didn't realise what I had at my disposal. I was a professional footballer, and I think, no disrespect to Baz, but the culture at the club at those days, Baz was, let you do anything you wanted. Really, it was, he wouldn't come down like a ton of bricks with anything as long as you performed your training on the pitch. So that gave me probably the licence to go out a bit more on the town than I should have, really. Looking back now, it's all right. Your career's over, but when you actually reflect on your career and go, what actually happened? How could I have improved? but there's different circumstances that made me go down that path. It wasn't just I got up one day and went, I think I really want to do that today, and ended up on that path to destruction. It was just issues I had going on in my life at that, from a child, really, all through my life, that I was involved in trouble from the very first age of 7 on Castle Vale, when I first come into contact with the police, age 7, for a burglary, and that's the things I was put up to by the people I was mixing with, and it escalated from there. It was a very, very difficult times, and I do talk a lot about it, and in the career I've got now, and the establishments where I do my talks about the upbringing that you have a massive effect on your later life. It's unresolved traumas, which I had, and I carried that over into football, and I've seen Birmingham City as my family, really. The team, the fans. I never wanted to leave. I never made any money out of the game, really, compared to everyone else. It was just I wanted to play for Birmingham, and the club tried to out me a few times to a variety of clubs, and I fought tooth and nail to stay. It wasn't about the money for me. It was about playing for the club I love and going out on the razzle after with them. And if I wasn't playing, I'd go to the games with the lads. You know what I mean? It was, as you know, that was all it was for me. I never wanted to leave the club, and it broke my heart when I did. But when I reflect on it now, it'd probably been better if I had left the club earlier. So it made me grow up and take me away from the vices that were so easily available to me.
So that season, it must have just felt like a roller coaster. Then, did it, with all that going on in your life, and the team winning every week? Just the momentum must have been incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. That season was just. I can't describe how good it was. It was just brilliant. I mean, Baz was insane. Training was crazy. Matches were berserk. The atmosphere on the terraces was fantastic. He got the club going again. The atmosphere at the games was brilliant. We took thousands away every week. It was just crazy. And for me, who liked all that, it was just. I felt like it was that year of my life. I felt like it was like a Heidi High camp, and it was just brilliant. I can't describe how good it was. But then again, I'm talking about the pressure behind all that. There was pressure that you have to get promoted. There's no other way. You have to go up this season. So, it was that year of my career was the best. For me, even though I didn't start every game. Obviously, I was coming off the bench a lot, but it was still something to be involved with, which was just fantastic.
Yeah, you definitely left your mark on it, even before the final. Actually, you scored the golden goal against Swansea, didn't you, in the semi-final? Yeah. Which I think either it gets forgotten or most people don't know about. Talk us about that, and
I think that was at the quarter final, wasn't it? I think we played Orient in the semi.
Yeah, so it was a slightly odd structure, wasn't there, where you sort of played the regional kind of part of it, and then it went into a national, and then you got to the final. Yeah.
So I think Swansea, I think they come to St Andrews, and we had a man sent off. I think Chris White got sent off, and we were just backs to the wall, really. And I ended up playing right back, and I was an attacking midfielder, and I ended up playing right back, and I was thinking. I said to Baz, what am I supposed to do? And I think I was up against Jason Bowen, who obviously went on to play for us, who was rapid, who could outrun me. So I literally just, what should I do? He said, just kick anyone, which I like doing anyway. So I was just launching anything that come anywhere near me. I was just right back, just kicking anything that moved, thinking, I'm going to get sent off as well. And ended up, I think it went to extra time. We held on, and I scored the winner. Went on a little mazy run. Played a 1-2 on the edge of the box, went through, and slid it under the keeper, and we went through. It was just, I think that cup that season was made for me. It was just one of those things that happened, Yeah. It was bizarre set of circumstances, and then scoring the win in the final, and everything that happened after that. It was just a crazy time for me that season.
You are right, yeah. That put you through to the regional final against Orient, and then obviously on to Carlisle then. When did you find out you wouldn't be starting the Wembley final? And
earlier in the week.
I
was ill. Had a virus, and I didn't think I was going to even make on the bench. I was that ill, but we played. I think the final was on the Sunday. We played a reserve game at St Andrews on the Thursday. I think it was against. I think it was Brighton or Bradford, one of those two. Me and Ricky Otto. To see if we were fit to play in the final, and we come through. We won 2-0. We both fit, and then we both drove down from St Andrews then after the game to the team hotel in preparation for the final. But I knew I wasn't going to be starting. But Baz said, if you come through this, will you be okay to be on the bench? And I went, well, if we get through the game, I'll do anything you want me to do. So so that was it. Got through the game, and then getting prepared then for the Carlisle game.
Yeah, indeed, and quite frankly, it was a stinker of a game, wasn't it?
I can't remember too much about the actual game itself. I remember we had the better chances in the game. They were top of their league, weren't they? Top of League Two, so they were decent. They were okay, but we were firm favourites. And obviously, once again, talk about the pressure. It was 52,000 Birmingham fans, 25,000 Carlisle fans, just under 77,000 at the game. And it was a lot of pressure live on television. Yes, the game wasn't a great game, wasn't a great spectacle, but our finals, great spectacles. It's two teams battling it out. The best team wins on the day. Very rarely do you see great finals. There's that much pressure on players, and until you experience it, it's easy to say sitting on the side, oh, why aren't they doing this and why aren't they doing that? But it's the occasion. It's not just about stepping foot on the grass. It's the whole occasion gets to you. It's a massive crowd, the expectation to win, the pressure to win, knowing 3-4 days later we've got a top of the table clash as well against Brentford. We had to win that. So if you throw all that into the mix, it's very, very difficult. It doesn't matter how much money you earn or anything like that. You're only human beings. It's how you handle that day.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because literally 3 days later, you were playing Brentford, weren't you? And whilst victory didn't guarantee you promotion, it certainly stuck a massive hole in their campaign, didn't it? Barry Fry sat on the touchline or on the bench. He's giving interviews to Gary Newbon, saying, "I just need someone to score. I don't care who it is now. Even if it's them, we just need to stop this football match because we're playing Brentford in 3 days' time." You go on, you fall over on halfway line and pick yourself up and carry on into the box. Were you obviously aware that Ricky was putting that ball in, or is that something you'd done a billion times in training, or does instinct kick in?
It's just literally breaking into the box and just trying to get on the end of something. Really, that was it. There was no working on anything. It was just Ricky crossed with his right foot when he's ever done that before. Ricky was predominantly left-footed, but he put in a great cross, a lot of pace on it, and I think as soon as I headed it, I knew as soon as I touched it that it was in the back of the net. The actual pace on the cross, it made it quite. It's a great goal, if I'm honest with you. When you see it, it's a great goal. But I think the cross as well from Ricky made it, because if it wasn't so firm, it would have. He probably wouldn't have gone that distance from my head. But I think when I headed it, I just knew straight away that it was in the back of the net. I just, and that feeling, I can't describe the feeling of. Yeah. It was just, I don't know, mad.
You were at the right end, weren't you? It was a short run to the Blues fans, and
it was.
Obviously, some preparation had gone into this celebration, hadn't it, Paul? Because you were wearing a T-shirt that had a message to the cousins across the city.
Yes, I know.
Where did the T-shirt materialise from?
I've been asked this many times, Brian, and no one actually believes me. And every forums I do, and with Tom Ross and things like that, Tom always says I'm lying, but I'm not lying. It was just in the kit bag, in the dressing room. Well, like today they all wear lycra and all. under their tops, and they're all looked after. But back in the days, you had to wear T-shirts to stop the nipple rash on from the kit. So it was just one top left in there. And I said to the kit man, I said, whose is that? He said, I don't know, who's just one top left. And it was a small top. And I looked at it, and it had all the writing on it. And I went, whose is that? And he said, I don't know. I've never seen it before. And it was an old top. It had been worn. It wasn't like a brand new top. And I said, well, have a look at that. So I'll have that. Score. I said, the rest is history, isn't it? So it was just that, and that is the truth. And people say, you're lying, you don't believe it. That's what it was. I didn't take it with me. It was just there. It was just like a fate. It was so bizarre that this top that no one else had put on, no one else had seen before, was in the kit bag, had been worn. I genuinely don't know. It was just bizarre. And, I put it on and, scored, lost me nut for about a minute. And then you realise, with all the press, which I haven't been used to before, like on your case straight away.
Yeah.
You've got about 15, 20 photographers standing there photographing you. Then, although you're celebrating, there's a piece of you that goes, oh no, what have I done? And then Baz gets to me and says, what have you done?
Yeah.
Done it again, you've done it again. And he got he was, I think Baz, although he was celebrating, he'd realised pretty quickly that there was going to be, the fallout from it was going to be quite big. And then once again, yours truly is in the middle of it. Really trouble again as well. So it just is one of them things that in that season where I had been in trouble a lot again, and this was just another thing to add on to a catalogue of not mistakes but troubles that had been in that season.
Yeah. And it made national news, didn't it? It didn't.
Yeah, well, yeah. The problem we had is there's no Premiership games that weekend, so the press had nothing to report on other than that.
Yeah.
And so it was not long after Eric Cantona had done his karate kick on that Crystal Palace supporter and got the 9-month ban at Selhurst. So I think the footballers weren't, seemed to be in a great light those days. That that was at a particular time. So let's have a look at it. And they've got Eric Cantona doing this. You've got this Paul Tate doing this. We're going to have to clamp down on it. We can't. It's getting out of control. So before you know it, the national press. It was all over the national press. Obviously, one half of the city were absolutely raging. The blue half was loving it. And then Paul McGrath's testimonial was coming up Blues Villa, and I had to go meet Paul and shake his hand and apologise, and so the game could go ahead because the police were going to cancel the game. So the threat of violence between the two sets of fans was even worse than it had been for years. So I think on the day of the game, Paul McGrath's testimonial, they arranged the game for reserves to play at Middlesbrough, and they sent me to Middlesbrough, out the city. That one of the stipulations was I had to get out the city.
Right.
On the day of the Villa Blues game, so I was up in Middlesbrough playing in a reserve game on that day. So the fallout was huge, and it still is really. Fans don't know who I am if I walk past them in the street, but when they hear my name, Villa fans they automatically, have this, know what you've done, and that they really have, got the ump. I get it every day. I get it most days of the week. I'll be walking whatever in the park or something, and someone mentions my name, and then you get some Villa fans, having a pop, and is what it is, isn't it? Let's go with it.
Yeah, you're a different character now, Paul, to be fair. You 3 days later, you are playing Brentford, and then that victory sort of propels you to the league title. Is there any form of celebration that you're able to have, in the hours after Wembley? Or I suppose you're worried about what else is coming your way, aren't you? But what mindset are you in? Is there celebration, fear? What's going on?
We went out to the Waltham Abbey, Swallow Hotel, Waltham Abbey after the game. We had a few drinks, bite to eat with the owners, and like a little get together, the staff, just for celebration after the game. I was called in by David Sullivan and the Golds, Karen, and I thought this is it. They're going to sack me and blah 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 because of the trouble I've been in. And he just sat me down and they've gone to me, "Where'd you get the T-shirt?" And I said, "I'm sorry about it. You know, I brought the club into disrepute again and blah blah blah." And I said, "Why do you want to know where I got it?" And he said, "Because I want to sell them in the club shop." He said, "I'll make a fortune." And there's me thinking I'm going to get the sack. And our bloody owner, he's asking me where I got the top from because he wants to sell them. All he's thinking about is pound notes. And I'm thinking, this is Birmingham City. This is how it was at the time. You know, it was just an incredible club to be at that time. It was you know, just crazy. But we didn't have time to celebrate. Our focus was on Brentford on the Wednesday night at St Andrews. It was a full house. I think I was on the bench again. Come on again. Got a standing ovation from the crowd. We won 2-0. And it was another high pressured game that we had to win. And with the characters, as I said at the start, the characters we had in the dressing room, we were fighters, and we looked at each other and we went, right, let's go, let's do it. And that's how we got through that season. You know, led by Captain Marvel Liam Daesh, who was a frightening man to have in the dressing room because you don't want to upset him. And sadly, in the game now, there's no one like that. You know, and any other captains these days are very soft. You know, they probably won't get away with the things that captains used to get away with back in those days. But to have Liam as your captain, he was a phenomenal captain, a leader. You know, he was very good to have in the dressing room.
Yeah. That season ends at Huddersfield Town with Steve Claridge. I mean, he gets the glory for scoring the goal, doesn't he? That took the team up. But you also scored that game, didn't you? And I guess, an incredibly fitting way to end the season. That was. You've used the word bedlam, I guess, but great way to end it.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Scoring the winning goal to get us promoted as well. So those 2 weeks was fantastic for me personally and fantastic for the club. You know, and it was just, but it needed to be done. You know, it was expected of us, and it was, we fought tooth and nail to do the double, and we did it.
That is the main parallel between your generation or your team and the current generation. What have you made of the way they've handled Chris Davis's team and players have handled the pressure this year?
Well, you look at the start of the season and the players that they bring in, or that we did bring in at the start of the season, high quality players. You know, I looked at the table at the start of the season, I looked at the squad, and I said, if we have the right characters. I remember speaking to Gary Cook at the start of the season at the training ground, and I said, if we have bring in the right characters, we're going to run through brick walls for each other. We're going to fight for each other. Be brave. I said, because every game's going to be a cup final for the teams coming to St Andrews. We're there to be shot at. I said, we'll do it quite easily. I said, between 15 and 18 points, I can see us winning the league by 15, 18 points. I said, if we haven't got the right characters, if you don't bring them in, I said, you'll struggle. I said, you've got to have the right characters in the dressing room who are going to fight, who are going to stand up to a bombardment of crosses, go to small grounds, quite hostile atmospheres. You're going to have to stand up, be counted. If you bring the right personnel in, we're absolutely fine. And it's proven that, we play now possession-based football, which is unknown to us, really, as supporters as well, which we haven't seen before, which is new. Sometimes it gets quite boring, if I'm honest with you, but we're winning, so you can't argue with that. It's been a fantastic season. You've got to take your hat off to Chris Davis and take it off to all the players, and the fans are there backing the team. It's just, isn't it nice? Just go down to St Andrews and see the stadium full, and seeing happy people for once. It's great.
Yeah,
it's nice.
And expect to win rather than hope to win as well.
Yeah, we expect to win. Yeah, we do. When we go up in the Championship next season, it's going to be tougher. We know that it's going to be a damn sight tougher than this season. With the teams coming down, there's more money in that league. We've been in that league for God knows how many years, the Championship. We know what it's all about. But I'm sure there'll be a few more additions. I think we need a few more additions. I think we need pace in the team. I think there's a severe lack of pace to get to that next level. But with the investments that we've got behind us, with the recruitment, we've done a fantastic job. I can't see no reason why we can't go again. With the fans backing, just sell out St Andrews every week. Our away support is phenomenal, and it's good. It's just great to be part of Birmingham City again.
And the Wembley final to come.
Yeah,
you going? You going?
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah. I'm sort of trying to sort out my ticket at the minute. Yeah.
Pick a goal scorer to emulate Paul Tate. Be great if Jay Stansfield. Would it be great? Would it be Stansfield you'd look to say, I'd like him to add his name into that chapter?
Yeah, I mean, as long as we get the win, of course. We don't want to go down there and lose the game. We primarily don't care who scored. We need to win the game. But it would be nice for Jay Stansfield, young lad. After losing his dad, his work rate is phenomenal. It would be fitting for him. To our record signing with the pressure. Imagine the pressure that he's had to face this season. That price tag hanging over his head. Away fans ridicule him every game when he misses, and so it would be nice. But as long as we win, I'm not fussed who scores. And I know we go in as firm favourites for the game, of course. But it's on the day, and anything can happen. Peterborough, give us a tough game at St Andrews early this season, and you just don't know what's going to happen on the day. It's an occasion, a one-off game, and I hope that we do it. And I fully expect us to.
That Peterborough game at St Andrews, it lacked the structure that I suppose Chris Davis would want. It was real end to end. It was a bit of a basketball game, and neither side had a huge amount of control. So maybe Wembley will be just like that. Paul, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you taking us down memory lane. Thank you everyone for listening, and it's certainly a keep right on from me, and I'm sure it's a keep right on from Mr. Tate as well.
Absolutely.